At what age did you decide you wanted to be a scientist, and why?
Well, I started off to go to university to do mathematics, and then I turned to medicine. But when I went into medicine, I thought I was going to be a medical scientist. So certainly by the middle of medical school, at about the age of about 19, I had done my first research project, and then I knew I wanted to stay in science.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Thank you. Question 2. Here we go. Who has been your greatest influence professionally on your science career, and why?
Oh, two people actually. One was Sir Peter Gluckman, who was a famous New Zealand medical scientist who was really the first person to discover that you could give medicines to the fetus to make them more likely to survive when they were born. And he was a great friend to me when I came back to New Zealand in 1980 from the United States and helping support the development of my independent laboratory. He was a very wise man and would repeatedly give me advice on the research that he did. I think he was probably the greatest ever New Zealand scientist and should have got the Nobel Prize. The second was a person in America, the professor I went to study with between 1976 and 1980, when I was already a qualified doctor and scientist, but I went there for advanced training. And he was at the time, he was the most famous person in the world for research into hormones in children. And he was a very, very distinguished American medical scientist. And even now, at the age of, I think, about 88, he continues to give me advice. And all through my career, he's been both a friend, a supporter, and a person to whom one could discuss many hard questions.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's fantastic. What 3 attributes do you think you require in order to succeed in today's competitive world of science?
Well, I think the first thing is you've got to work very hard. There's no doubt about that. Secondly, you've got to have a willingness to have a broad knowledge of science and be willing to look beyond your own narrow discipline for inspiration. And thirdly, you have to be a good collaborator, because most science these days, particularly cutting-edge science, needs to involve different skills, different people, bigger teams, and you have to be able to be a good collaborator. And the fourth thing, which I will add, if you don't mind me adding a fourth.
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you.
You've got to be committed to excellence. Second-rate science is a waste of money and a waste of effort. And so much in science that is published is not innovative, not ambitious. And I think one has to be ambitious to do good science and very good science in whatever field you're in.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. What one piece of advice would you give to a young person who is embarking upon a new career path?
Don't look backwards, look forward. Make sure you're doing something that you're enjoying, and make sure you're willing to take advice from people who are well networked and experienced in whatever field you go into.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. What does an average week of work consist of, and how many hours a week do you put in?
Well, I have so many roles and jobs. I'm not probably a very fair person for people people to look at, because I have a role as the Prime Minister's Science Advisor. I have my own research in the University of Auckland, and I also run an international research consortium and a laboratory in Singapore. So I have many lives, but I guess I'm working from 8 o'clock in the morning and basically working with meal breaks till about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday. And I'll probably put in on an average weekend about 6 to 8 hours work as well, but sometimes more.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Thank you very much.
But I think if you want to be, whatever you do, just be successful, you have to work hard. I've got this complicated life, which probably puts more on it than most people, but there's no free lunch in this world, and in science, if you're doing international science, you're only as good as your last work.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Now, many scientists don't work that hard, obviously, and still do very well. It's just that I'm combining two major different roles at the moment.
Definitely. What did you have to sacrifice in order for your science career to survive?
I'm not sure one sacrifices. I still insist on good holidays, good family time. But, clearly in any career, and it doesn't matter whether you're in business or in science or anywhere else, there's this unfortunate thing that at the very time your personal life is establishing with family and children, you also have to work very, very hard. And so I think that, and if every person who's successful in every area of endeavour always faces this interface between work-life balance and the fact that you've got to put the time in to succeed.
Yeah. Thank you. What is the greatest challenge you have faced, and how did you overcome this?
Well, there are different kinds of challenges. I think the challenge of being in internationally focused science and living in New Zealand is tough, because you've got to do a lot of travel, you've got a lot of time zone issues, just to have conference calls, they can be late at night or middle of the night and so forth. But I think one has to have an understanding family, one has to just recognise the real benefits of living in New Zealand and all those broader benefits of New Zealand society, and recognise the upside outweighs the downside. Be positive.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously in science you get many disappointments, but disappointments in science are largely about an idea you have not working. The mere fact of it not working, you're getting an answer. It's like solving a maze. Every time you go down a blind alley, you're one step closer to the solution. So, I think one, again, has to be positive. The third thing that can be a disappointment, obviously in a people business, is you are always wanting to develop and train people, bring them on, and some people do much better than you expect, and that's a great enjoyment and very, refreshing when that happens. But other times you invest a lot in people and they don't develop, and that can be a real disappointment.
Oh, thank you. That's really interesting. The last question now.
Mm-hmm.
In your own words, what is the key to success?
First, enjoying what you do. You can't succeed if you don't enjoy what you do. Number two is you've got to be prepared not only to be good at what you do, but to put the effort in to stay good and stay at the cutting edge. I think if you get arrogant, overconfident, egotistical, and rely on your past performance, inevitably you'll come cropper. And so I think it's a matter of enjoying what you do, but always looking to recognizing that to be successful tomorrow, you have to put effort in today.
Oh, great.